ABO, the original structure. ABO stands for Ad Set Budget Optimization, and it's the original way every Facebook ad account was built. Here's how it works. You create a campaign. Inside that campaign, you create ad sets. And each ad set gets its own budget that you set manually. $50 a day on ad set A, $50 on ad set B, $50 on ad set C. Meta cannot move that money around. Whatever you set is what gets spent. You're in complete control. For years, this was the only way to run ads. If you wanted to test broad targeting against a lookalike, you'd put each one in its own ad set with the same budget. Clean, fair test. The reason ABO still has a place in 2026 is isolation. When you absolutely need a specific audience to get spend, ABO is the only way to guarantee it. Retargeting is the big one. If you've got a small custom audience of cart abandoners, CBO will starve it because the algorithm sees the bigger audiences as cheaper. ABO forces the spend. Same for clean creative testing. You want every concept to get a fair shot? Put each one in its own ABO ad set with the same budget. No algorithmic favoritism. The trade-off is efficiency. You're choosing certainty over optimization. And in an Andromeda world where the algorithm is genuinely better at finding buyers than you are, that's a real cost. ABO is no longer the default. It's a specialty tool. CBO, the algorithm, takes over. CBO is campaign budget optimization. Meta renamed it Advantage Campaign Budget in the new interface, but it's the same thing, and it changed everything. Instead of setting budgets on each ad set, you set one budget at the campaign level. Meta then decides in real time how to distribute that money across your ad sets. Ad set A converting cheap, Meta floods it. Ad set C dying, Meta cuts it off. You don't touch anything. The algorithm runs the wallet, and here's the wild part. Studies show that in a typical CBO campaign, 20% of your ad sets eat 80% of the budget. That's by design. CBO isn't trying to test fairly, it's trying to win. Which is why CBO is incredible for scaling and brutal for testing. If you've already got proven winners and you want Meta to push spend toward whatever's hottest, CBO does that better than you ever could manually. But if you load it up with 5 new untested ad sets, Meta might spend 95% of your budget on one of them and leave the others with nothing. Zero usable data on the losers. And here's what most beginners miss. Changing budgets on a live CBO campaign resets the learning phase. Pausing, adjusting, targeting, all of it. Meta needs stable conditions to optimize, so you set it up, you walk away, you let it cook for at least 7 days. There's also a guardrail most people skip. You can set ad set minimum spends inside a CBO campaign. That forces Meta to spend at least that much on the ad sets you care about. Used right, you get the best of both worlds. Most 6-figure per day accounts in 2026 run their scaling spend through CBO. It's the engine. ABO is the test bench. 1-1-1. The consolidation structure. 1-1-1. One campaign, one ad set. Every ad you've got stacked inside that one ad set. This is the structure that took over after iOS 14 broke everything. The whole point is signal consolidation. When Apple let users opt out of tracking, Meta lost a huge chunk of the data it relied on to optimize. Suddenly, campaigns split across 10 ad sets couldn't generate enough conversions per ad set to actually learn. Each ad set needs roughly 50 conversions a week to exit the learning phase. Fragment your spend across too many ad sets and none of them ever get there. So the smart move became collapsing everything down. One broad ad set, 20+ ads inside, all the signal pooling in one place. And for a while, this was the structure. But 1-1-1 has a ceiling. Once you load more than maybe 10 or 15 ads into a single ad set, Meta picks its favorites. 2 or 3 winners. The rest barely get any impressions. You're paying for them to exist, but they're not getting at-bats. And the moment your winners fatigue, you don't have backups warmed up. The whole account stalls. That's why 1-1-1 started losing ground around 2024. Meta's own data showed one ad set with 25 creatives generated 17% more conversions at 16% lower cost than 5 ad sets with 5 creatives each. The principle was right. Consolidate the signal, but the execution had to evolve. 1-5-5, the testing hybrid. 1-5-5, one campaign, 5 ad sets, 5 ads inside each ad set. This is the structure most serious media buyers actually run in 2026, and the math is simple. 1-1-1 consolidated too much. You couldn't test. So instead of giving every concept its own ad set or stacking everything in one pool, you split the difference. Each ad set holds one core concept. Inside that ad set, you've got 5 variations, different hooks, different opening lines, different formats. The ad set is the concept test. The ads inside are the variation test. You get 5 at-bats per concept. Even if your strongest hook is a loser, your second or third might be the actual winner. Meta picks between them automatically. This is the sweet spot for accounts spending anywhere from $1,000 a day up to about $20,000 a day. Enough segmentation to learn something, enough volume per ad set to actually exit the learning phase. And when you run this on top of CBO at the campaign level, Meta routes the budget to whichever concept is converting cheapest. The trap people fall into is over-segmenting. They make it 1-10-10 or 1-25-5, and suddenly the budget is too thin per ad set. None of them generate enough data. Everything stays in learning forever. 3 to 5 ad sets is the practical ceiling under Andromeda. Anything beyond that is fragmenting your signal for no payoff. Keep it tight. Let the algorithm do its job. If you're loving this breakdown, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. We've got more coming. Let's keep going. Ask the black box. ASC stands for Advantage Plus Shopping Campaign, and this one is different from everything else on this list because ASC isn't a structure you build, it's a structure Meta builds for you. You don't create ad sets, you don't pick audiences, you don't choose placements, you upload between 20 and 50 creatives, set a daily budget, set your existing customer budget cap. That's it. Meta handles every other decision. Targeting, placements, bidding. Internal metadata shows ASC delivers 17% lower cost per acquisition than manual campaigns. And for e-commerce accounts pulling in more than 50 purchases a week, ASC has basically become the default. It's the campaign type Meta pushes hardest because it gives them the most control. And here's where you have to be careful. ASC works incredibly well when you have clean conversion data, an existing customer list uploaded, and a real product catalog connected. It tanks when any of those are missing. The existing customer budget cap is the one lever you absolutely have to use. Without it, Meta will spend 40 or 50% of your budget retargeting people who already bought from you. Your reported ROAS will look great, your actual new customer acquisition will be a disaster. The recommended starting cap is around 25 to 30% for most accounts. Drop it lower if you want pure prospecting. The other thing to know is ASC needs volume to work. The official threshold most agencies use is 50 purchases a week. Below that, stick with manual. Above that, test ASC in parallel and see if it beats your existing setup. ASC is a tool. It's powerful when fed properly and expensive when it's not. Testing plus scaling, the two campaign split. This is where most agency accounts in 2026 actually live. The two campaign split. You run one campaign that exists purely to test new creative, low budget, maybe $100 or $200 a day. Brand new ads get launched here every week. Some flop, some show promise, a few become winners, then you run a second campaign whose only job is to scale those winners. Higher budget, sometimes much higher. Often using CBO so meta routes spend to whichever proven winner is hottest. The testing campaign is the factory. The scaling campaign is the distribution line. Creative flows one direction. Test it cheaply, validate it, then migrate it to where the real money lives. And the reason this dominates among high-volume creative shops is that Andromeda made creative volume the #1 lever. Brands testing more than 20 new ads a month see roughly 65% higher ROAS than brands testing fewer than 10. You need a structure that lets you launch volume without polluting your scaling environment. If you just dropped every new untested ad into your main scaling campaign, you'd reset the learning phase constantly and tank performance. Separating testing from scaling solves that. The trade-off is what people call the migration tax. When you copy a winning ad over to scaling, it usually dips for a few days before stabilizing. Some people use post-ID duplication to preserve the social proof. Others accept the dip. The pipeline only works if you keep feeding it. Duplication, vertical scaling. Duplication is one of the oldest scaling tricks in the book, and it still works in 2026. Here's the play. You've got a winning ad set spending $200 a day and crushing it. You want to push more money through, but you've learned that big budget jumps reset the learning phase and tank performance for a week. So instead of doubling the budget on the existing ad set, you duplicate it. Make an exact copy. Same creative, same audience, same everything. New budget. Now you've got two ad sets running the same thing, each at $200. You can duplicate again and again. Suddenly you're spending $1,000 a day on what was a $200 a day winner. No learning phase reset. It works because Meta treats each duplicate as a fresh entity in the auction. The original keeps its momentum. The duplicates start their own learning, but they're using a creative that's already proven to convert. The downside is auction overlap. You're competing against yourself. Sometimes one duplicate eats another duplicate's lunch. Sometimes the new ones never stabilize, and there's a ceiling. Past a certain point, you're just splitting the same audience pool into smaller slices, and CPMs climb. Most experienced media buyers use duplication as one of several scaling tools, not the only one, but for accounts where you've got one clear winner and you need to scale fast without breaking it, duplication is still in the playbook. Omni, the consolidated account. And then there's the structure that's emerging at the very top. Call it Omni, call it the consolidated account. Call it the Andromeda endgame. The idea is brutal in its simplicity. One campaign, one ad set, 20 to 50 creatives stacked inside, broad targeting, Advantage Plus enabled. That's the entire account. No retargeting campaign, no prospecting campaign, no separate testing setup. Just one massive funnel with the algorithm doing all of the work. And the reason this is showing up on accounts spending 6 figures a day is that Andromeda fundamentally changed what targeting even means. Your creative is the targeting now. Meta reads every ad you upload, the hook, the visual, the voiceover, and it decides who to show it to based on what the creative is saying, which means the more diverse creative you give Andromeda, the more types of buyers it can find. Brands running this structure are testing 20 plus new ads a month. Their creative library is the entire strategy. The campaign structure is just plumbing. And here's the catch. This only works once you have proven creative volume and clean signal data. If you copy this structure as a beginner with 3 ads and no track record, you'll burn through your budget in a week with nothing to show for it. The bigger principle to take away is this: don't pick a structure because it's trending. Pick the structure that solves the actual constraint in your account. If you can't produce enough creative to feed Omni, you have no business running Omni. The structure follows the operation, not the other way around.